So we've looked at snow, we've looked at sleet, and now we look at probably one of the worst forms of winter precipitation, especially for drivers. Absolutely no traction available when we have freezing rain. Now, this is what happens. You remember Jeff mentioned that fairly narrow corridor of warm air above the ground. Now what we do is we actually broaden or we thicken the layer of warm air. So we have snow to rain. Looks pretty good. Looks like we're going to get rain, right? Uh-oh. Here's the problem. We have a very thin layer of air that is at either freezing or below, and because of that thin layer, the rain falls into this layer of very cold air, and we end up with the freezing rain, the rain freezing upon contact. You may notice in some of these freezing rain situations that it actually occurs on some of the exposed or the metal objects beforehand. So that's what we're looking at. In this particular case, low pressure moving up from the south, and as a result of that, we have the warm tropical air coming up from the Gulf of Mexico, and that's actually what this is. This is a cross-section showing you some of the warmer air coming in, and it's above the ground, so we either have the snow, the sleet, or the freezing rain.
Earlier we learned about the nor'easter, and the upper Midwest has its own version called the Alberta Clipper. Jeanetta Jones has more.
This snow in Pittsburgh was caused by a storm system known as an Alberta Clipper. Many times during the winter, a large upper-level low-pressure area builds over Canada's Hudson Bay. The air rotates around that low in a counterclockwise direction. This causes the storm track to slide from western Canada down across the northern United States. The systems over Alberta or thereabouts are forced to move quickly along that storm track by the jet stream, hence the name Alberta Clipper. The Alberta Clippers are typically accompanied by snow and followed by a shot of cold air. Given the quick movement, snow accumulations are not too large. However, once in a while they slow down and intensify, blasting the coast of the northeastern U.S. with heavy snow and strong winds. Jeanetta Jones, the Weather Channel.
Well, now that we've seen a little bit about snow, sleet, and freezing rain, how the atmosphere actually sets itself up, especially over the lowest, let's say, 4,000 to 5,000 feet. Let's look a little bit in on a particular forecast for a given week as we head into the wintertime season. Now, on this week, you'll notice that we do have a storm which is heading well east of New England, but again, it is tracking from the southwest to the northeast. That's our first storm, and you can see that there is, even in this case, some minor coastal flooding and some rain expected with the storm. There's not enough cold air. But if you were to change things around, well, then it certainly gets a lot more interesting, especially from a forecasting concern, because now we have a different storm. This will be storm number 2. And what if we had enough cold air, which appears to be the case on this day? You'll notice that with some colder air feeding into the north edge of the storm out of Canada, strong storm system coming up parallel to the eastern seaboard, we have a veritable northeaster. Now you notice that's on Wednesday and Thursday, and as you head on into the weekend, believe it or not, on this particular week we had 3 storm systems, and this one working to the northeast, the third storm, the most powerful of all 3. That one brings the snow heavy at times, a very heavy snowfall perhaps for parts of the mountains in central and northern New England. But as we talked about just a moment ago with that transition from the warm to the cold air and the layers of warm air above the ground, this is where you may actually find some of that sleet and freezing rain as you head up into the midsection of the storm, coming all the way back into the eastern sections of Pennsylvania. Now, what about a satellite view to show you exactly what's happening? Well, there's your first storm as it works on up off the northeast, and many times in forecasting weather, the satellite is the most valuable tool you can have, because it actually tells you right now where the storms are located, how strong they are, and we can tell that by several methods. And here's storm number 3, just coming in off the California coast, but believe it or not, in the next 3 to 5 days, that storm will head to the mid-Atlantic coast and give a pretty strong northeaster to the northeast. Find out more about winter precipitation, Chapter 6.